There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
So whose number 10 hat are you wearing there?
Derica's.
Okay.
So, are you guys ready? In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Full Throttle with Kenny and myself, Justin Putzer. Today we got a guest, Derek. And Derek is a sports car racer. So let's make Derek feel welcome to Full Throttle. Welcome, Derek.
Thanks a lot. Happy to be here, guys.
Nice to meet you, Derek. It was very great to see you racing the TRG car out on the Nashville streets.
Yeah, Nashville was pretty awesome. It was a big event to go get to be a part of, and it was a breath of fresh air from what we got to experience, in the last year in racing or so.
It was really good. I enjoyed every bit of it. That was like a big event. You had Trans Am, GT America, IndyCar, and even Stadium Super Trucks. That was an awesome weekend.
Yeah, we had our bases covered for sure.
What was your reaction when you learned that GT America was going to go to Nashville to support the IndyCar event?
The moment I heard that it was announced, I actually, not with pencil, but with a permanent Sharpie, I circled that date on my calendar and I said, I'm going to find a way to be in that race no matter what. So it all worked out. We got the invite and we went and participated and checked it off. Now hopefully they'll invite us back to do it again.
Yeah. So fire away with some questions, Justin, if you have any.
Okay. So Derek, so are you part-time or full-time? Kind of sounds like part-time.
I always think it's part-time, but it always kind of turns into full-time. So it's hard to gauge. I do have another full-time part of my life. I've got a normal job when I'm at home, and I'm also a dad and a husband, but racing is kind of continuous through all that, especially if you ask my family. There's not really a moment they're not thinking about it, trying to find a way to do a better job at it, help the team to have a better chances. So, I mean, between physical training and the neuro training and eyesight training and travel for testing and whatnot, I think I have 3 full-time jobs sometimes.
Well, so Derek, I'm just wondering, so what class have you ran on, or what class would you want to run on?
I've been lucky to race lots of different things. I mean, my racing started actually at the Skip Barber Racing School back in Formula Dodge. That was a long time ago, back in the late 90s. So I've done some open wheel racing. I raced in Formula Renault back when that was here in North America. And then I kind of got into sports cars, and back then it was the Grand Am series, and ST would have been like the equivalent to IMSA GS or something like that now. So I've done some of that. I've raced in IMSA and both GS and in GTD, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and then within back it was Pirelli World Challenge when I raced in GTS. That then kind of morphed into SRO and the GT4 class. So I do love the GT4 racing. It's really competitive, and I love that we can get out there and be door to door with each other. But there's certainly a part of me that really wants to get back into a GT3 car again. I enjoyed racing in IMSA and GTD and some of the big events like the Rolex 24 that go along with that. I've got a big goal to get back to Le Mans at some point. I've got to race there, but it was just a 1-hour race in the Aston Martin Festival, which was an incredible experience. But I'd like to get back there in a GT3 car.
Well,
That's really cool, man. So just a question. How did you get your ride with TRG and Kevin Buckler?
Oh, man. I don't know if I have time for the whole story on that, but essentially I had been racing at that point. Like I said, that was back in the Grand Am days, and I was racing in a Chevy Cobalt program, and then I kind of had a couple years where I wasn't sure where I was going to go in racing, and I was just doing one-offs as I could find one. I'd done some stuff with a couple Porsche teams, and then a really good friend of mine invited me down to the race at Monterey, and I think it was like Mother's Day weekend, so that was big. My wife said, "You know what, you've really been trying to get something together. Why don't you go down there? Maybe something will happen." And we just ended up walking through the paddock. And of course, I knew of TRG, one of the most storied teams in sports car racing and endurance sports car racing. So as I was kind of taking my buddies that didn't know much about racing for a walk around the paddock, I saw TRG there and randomly decided to go knock on the door and just ask if the team owner was there, and proceeded to ask him if they had any opportunities for a driver this next coming season. And Kevin's answer was yes. Actually, it's pretty good timing. At that point, they were making a switch from Porsche to Aston Martin, so it was kind of a time where they were refreshing things, and that turned into a chance to go have a test, and it all went really well. And that was, this is my 9th season with them now. So
9th season.
Yeah.
So how many wins do you have throughout your sports car racing career?
I think there's actually 8 wins when you gather it all up together. I don't have my exact stats memorized, but with TRG in those 9 years, I think it's 6 wins and 34 podiums. We've won the team championship twice. I've been 3rd in the drivers' championship and 2nd in the drivers' championship twice. Never on that top step yet. So that's one of the big goals.
One of the big goals. Now, outside of sports car racing, do you have any goals in racing that you want to get accomplished?
Originally I was pretty dead set on racing an open wheel and racing an IndyCar, but as things just kind of started to progress, I really found a real love with sports car racing. So I'm pretty content in the type of racing that I'm doing. It works well for me and my family, and my girls love it. And we feel like there's some pretty good safety in what we're doing. I would certainly be open to an opportunity like in NASCAR, whether it's in a Cup car or Xfinity. A lot of my good buddies have been enjoying some of their experiences there, so that would be fun. But I'm really just kind of trying to stay single focused on the sports car side, both in GT4 and GT3 cars.
What kind of GT cars were out on the track in Nashville, like the one behind me? Was it GT4 or America?
So that was kind of a one-off for me because I'm racing full-time in SRO in the GT4 Sprint X series. So that's all single make and the slightly longer format with a 2-driver format with a driver change, where GT America actually has 3 specs of car out on track at the same time. So there was the GT2 cars, which I believe there was an Audi and a Porsche. And then we had a handful of GT3 cars, Porsche, Audi, Ferrari, and McLaren, I think, made up that class. And then the GT4 cars, of course, we had the 718 Porsche Cayman, there was McLaren, some Mustangs, the new Toyota Supra was out there. The BMWs are always a big threat in our class. Those things, they got a lot of power. They're fast in a straight line. But yeah, I think that pretty well sums up the field. Aston Martin, they've also got a big presence, which I had lots of years with TRG racing the Aston Martins, so pretty familiar with that car.
So you say you want to get back to the big sport car races. If the right opportunity came along, who would be the right opportunity for you to jump back into a sports car, say at Daytona for the 24-hour race?
Well, I certainly have a strong loyalty to the brands that I'm driving and that have supported us and always do such a great job. And so, I mean, just the fact that we're with Porsche right now, and I don't think there's another car that you could always put on track and know that it had a chance to win. So, yeah, I mean, if there was any of the Porsche teams, three cars that wanted to give me a shot, that would probably be my top goal right now, both for Daytona and for Le Mans.
Is Le Mans in France?
It is.
What's racing in that race like?
It was like nothing I've ever experienced. We went there as a team back in 2015. We were part of the Aston Martin Festival, which is kind of the race before the big race. So we got to share the 24 hours of Le Mans weekend and experience. And then Saturday before the race started, we just had a 1 hour long sprint race. But just the camaraderie and the fan experience and the way that they approach racing over there was very eye-opening at that point in my career. I mean, there was, just like 100,000 fans show up just for the driver parade. That's the day before the race. I mean, it was like anybody there, you just felt like a rock star.
That's the way I look at it. Like when I went to the Trans Am race last weekend, I really got a good vibe at that race compared to other parts that I've witnessed in the past, because the driving was respectful, the drivers respected each other, and the drivers were more accessible for some of the fans. You know what I mean? It was a really good vibe.
Yeah, I think that's part of what I really love about sports car racing and SRO in particular. I mean, I think we drive cars that are recognizable and obtainable for some people, but a lot of them are dream cars for people that they love to get behind and see. When they come to a race, they're not hidden behind a wall somewhere. They can come and touch and feel and see the cars and meet the drivers and meet the teams and interact. I think that's one of the cool parts of what we do.
So real quick, talk to us about the track layout for last weekend. How did you enjoy the challenges? What were some of the easy points of that race weekend that Doug went to? And I mean,
as you guys saw, it didn't turn out to be a very easy weekend for me. It started out on the right step and we felt very, very well prepared. Just the fact that it was the first time there's ever been a race on the streets in Nashville. It was kind of a nice feeling, that everybody's starting out on the same foot. We had ever been there before. I thought I'd get a little bit of a leg up and an advantage. I traveled to Nashville about a month before the race, so where I could go walk what was going to be the track and start to understand some of the nuances of it. So we did our homework and did the best kind of preparation we could pre-race. Showed up and gosh, we were just really fast right out of the gates. We were in the top 2 and top 3 cars, both practice sessions. Made a little bit of a mistake in qualifying. The tires are really best on like that second lap, and I botched the last turn. So, but then I got a good one in towards the end. So I think we qualified 4th. So I mean, we were just really, really competitive all weekend. I really liked the feel of the event. The track, of course, was tight and narrow and unforgiving, just like street courses are, and lots of terrain to figure out that's really hard to figure out in just a couple of practice sessions. And I think that's ultimately what caught up with me in the race. Kind of got to be a guinea pig as far as I don't think anybody had really tried to race at speed, side by side through turn 4 yet. When I had the BMW on the right of me entering 4, I felt that I could go side by side and slow the car and protect the inside, but it just it didn't work. Once I was on the left side there, it became a passenger out in the marbles and the dust and concrete wall on the left. And once we had contact, the race was over. But it was amazing to see how the team rallied. I think that probably actually is a highlight of that whole thing. It's never fun when you crash a car or whatnot, but the way that the team and our fans and sponsors and partners and a lot of my family was there, everybody just came together. Nobody missed a beat. We got the other car ready and went out and had a race on Sunday.
Where'd you finish?
I think we ended up, so because of the wreck on Saturday, I had to start from last. So we're in the tail end of the pack. And I think there was a couple of wrecks. I had time to make one pass. I think we finished 4 from the back or something like that. But it was disappointing again, because starting from back there, I knew I had the speed. It's obviously very difficult to pass on a street course, but I really needed the entire race to be green flag to have any chance of, you know, getting back up close to the podium or something. And there were 2 large wrecks. Thankfully, you know, both drivers were okay, but it meant that the majority of our race was driving around single file under full course yellow conditions, and no chance to keep moving forward. So
No chance. I can't we just so what do you think for a sports car, what do you think of the Indy road course, the layout NASCAR used this weekend?
you know, it's just a treat anytime, and no matter what you're driving, you get to race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I did get to race there last year. It was the final round of our championship, and then also had the inaugural 8-hour. So I'm pretty familiar with the road course there. I like it. It's one that has a little bit of everything. It's actually probably more entertaining as a driver than you would think, because it looks pretty 2-dimensional on a map, but it's got lots of nuances to it. You get a little taste of the oval and some high speed stuff and some fast sweepers. So yeah, I look forward to it. I look forward to it again this year. You know, once again, it's going to be the last round of our SRO GT4 championship and another shot at the 8-hour.
That's really cool, man. I hope you can pull off the victory in the final like races of the year. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, we certainly have a good car for it and a great team lineup. You know, I've got, you know, one of the fastest drivers in the world with me this year, co-driving with Spencer Pompelli is awesome. He's a master in 718 Porsche, and really anything that anybody hands him. So, and then Dr. Jim Rappaport will be our 3rd driver, and he's also really just a really solid driver, a really awesome friend and good guy. And as far as a 3-pack of drivers to go have a shot at winning this thing, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Good to hear. Did you see what happened with the Stadium Super Trucks action last weekend?
I didn't. Do you have any good summaries for me? I was really focused on our weekend. We had so many guests there. I think we had about 75 guests at the race, so I'd be in our paddock doing our deal. And
a really funny thing happened.
Truck launching through the air behind me.
What happened, Doug?
What happened was this. During the practice session, it was the first practice session. The track went yellow because of a collision that happened during practice. And this was the first time I went to Stadium Super Trucks. And so I didn't know anything about the culture, about how drivers expressing emotions is part of it, you know. And what happened was, after the wreck happened, the track television screen showed what was happening afterwards, which was the 2 drivers got out of their trucks, were yelling at each other, waving their fists, and eventually one of them threw his steering wheel at the other guy and then tossed his helmet. The other guy tossed his helmet, and the steering wheel impacted one of them in the cheek, and they even got physical towards the end. And the crowd was all chanting, "Ooh," you know, or "fight, fight, fight." And I couldn't help but watch a little bit of it with a little bit of a mortified smile. Like part of me wanted to join the crowd, but part of me was also like, knowing how I was raised, I'm not sure I should be laughing at this.
Yeah, it's hard not to get sucked into watching something like that and getting behind it. I mean, it happens, you know, emotions run high. And
what I was really surprised about, though, was it was a practice session. I would expect that to happen in the race, racing for the win, but not practice.
So do you have a test coming up from Mengi? Because I see your like got the Indy crack in the background of where you're coming from today. So you got some practice days coming up at Indy. What's the remaining schedule?
Yeah, so the remaining schedule, it's actually, you know, we had kind of a long summer break, and now that Nashville hit and whatnot, it's pretty full time from here on out. So as far as I know, unless something comes up with like a potential new driver or coaching opportunity, not much testing coming up for us. But we head to Road America the last weekend of this month. So we race there on the 28th and 29th of August. I'm looking at my calendar over there, which is one of my very favorite tracks. Actually, my first professional victory came at Road America. That was in 2015 in Aston Martin with TRG. So always look forward to going back there. And then we'll be going to Watkins Glen, New York, another favorite, and Sebring, Florida, and then we finish up at Indy. So 4 more rounds. It'll be a pretty busy couple months.
4 more rounds.
Yeah.
How would you feel about coming back on for another interview after the season? We'll talk about this season in general.
Happy to.
Good to hear. We'll do that down the road, and hopefully it'll be you as a champion.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Well, I'm a sucker for talking about racing, so you'll probably be able to holler at me just about any time and get in there. And of course, I don't know how much of our stuff you guys follow, but any of your listeners can certainly tune in, to us at fastlife.tv. That's our website. It's got links to our YouTube channel. A lot of my stuff now is really shared on Instagram, and then we've got the series on Amazon Prime that it's got a link to also.
Good to hear. Everybody, the links to his profiles are up here. The magic of editing,
That's right.
Yeah.
Right over there or over there.
Yeah. You have any final questions or final thoughts, Justin?
Honestly, I just want.
I bet your dog has a question.
Yeah, sounds like the dog has a question for sure.
Yeah. Now I lost my train of thought. But no. Honestly, what are your chances to win the title? In your division? How do you feel about the remaining?
I should have a clearer answer to that. I haven't done the math on it. It would take pretty much a perfect season from this point out. Spencer and I were definitely one of the favored cars, and we've had speed and we've had qualifying results, but we haven't got the results in the races that we needed yet. We had a punctured tire in Sonoma after qualifying on the front row. We suffered a penalty in Texas, and then we were on the podium in Virginia. But so we've got decent points. I think we're sitting in 5th place right now. But the challenge is that our closest competitors that are in 1st place have won every single round so far. So we got to find a way to get ahead of them, and probably realistically would have to win every single race for the balance of the season. But we're after it. We're after trying. We'll give it a shot, and there's certainly we're with a team and with a car that has a chance every time it's on track. So let's keep doing all the right things, and I think we'll get some wins this season.
Good to hear.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So Doug, do you have any final thoughts? That was my final thought.
My final thoughts. It's a pleasure to meet you, Derek, and it was great to see you racing out there, although somehow you're right here instead of in the car behind me.
Yeah. And I forgot. Doug and I always like to do is, how do you think this interview went for you as the interviewer? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great question. No, I think it was a very smooth interview. It's easy to sit here and just chat with you guys. And those are always the kind of interviews I like to listen to. And it's just a conversation between a room full of people that love racing and race cars. So I think you guys pulled it off well.
Well,
No
thank
problem.
you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback.
Perfect. So when will I be able to see the interview? When will you guys have this up on your channels?
Probably.
I will have it up as soon as we're done.
Oh, speedy.
Yeah. And on my channel, it'll probably be about a week or 2 weeks time because I edit it,
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'll look forward to checking it out and to to a follow-up interview with hopefully some victories to talk about.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. All
Well,
righty,
well.
everyone. I want to thank both you guys for appearing on our channels, and we'll see you next time for another motor racing interview.
Sounds good. Thanks,
And
guys.
I will see you next time for Full Throttle.
Mhm.